attention is life. And if you're focusing on the wrong things that don't really align with your values, you're essentially paying with your life. Let's make a commitment this week to be a little bit more mindful of where we place our attention. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Pyllon Ultra Pod, where we like to dive deep into the real issues faced by ultra runners and endurance athletes. I'm Paul, and today I'm keen to explore a concept that extends far beyond running. It's inspired by a couple of books, and I'll leave some recommendations in the show notes. I'm really keen to discuss how our focus shapes our training and racing and ultimately our lives. Timothy Wilson, psychologist, suggests that we can consciously attend to 0.00004% of the information bombarding our brains at any given moment. The issue isn't necessarily that attention is a limited resource per se, but that where we place our attention defines our experience of life. Attention is life. And if you're focusing on the wrong things that don't really align with your values, you're essentially paying with your life. It's really easy to get distracted these days. I don't think there's been a time where we've had so many distractions on tap all the time. We're constantly bombarded with notifications, we're on social media, and there's endless amounts of content to consume. But have you ever really stopped to think about what these distractions might be costing you? If you're spending hours watching running movies, poor example maybe, but if you're watching running movies for hours, are you truly becoming a better runner? If you're scrolling through nature photos, are you really experiencing the beauty and the feeling of being outdoors? Obsessing with news coverage is a big one as well. It feels like we're being well informed and we're well educated, we're keeping up to date with things, and maybe we're better able to interact socially if we're up to date with what's happening in the news. But are you really learning more about the world, or are you asking yourself really challenging questions by craving the news sensation so regularly? Or are you actually being distracted from the real stuff that you think really matters to you? So in the context of running and training, distractions can manifest in loads of different ways. You might be focused on the latest gear. You might be focused on the most up-to-date, carbon-plated, lightest running shoes possible, or you just don't go out the door unless you're looking super fly, Mr. Martin Gray, and everything has to match, or you don't leave the house at all. Or it might be you just obsessively track your stats, you're constantly on training peaks, or you're constantly going on to Strava, and you're also making comparison maybe with other people. So these distractions themselves can distract just from the pure joy and simplicity of running. Distractions pull you away from the present moment, and that's where the real magic happens as a runner. And if you speak to anybody who's had a really uplifting experience with their running, and I don't just mean race results, but they've had really big experiences with their running, it's been when they've been really focused on it and they're in the moment of that. And I guess that's part of ultra running, because sometimes even when races aren't going well, we're kind of forced into that moment, and we're forced to think about nothing else about other than getting to the end of the race, for example. I know there's been times where maybe I've been distracted with things on my way out to go and do a long run, for example. So maybe I've been distracted in the house before I leave, and maybe driving out to go and do a long run, I've been distracted when I'm driving, and I get out, and the minute I start running, those distractions don't just fade away. And I found myself stopping way too many times. I'm stopping, I'm checking my phone, I'm looking for some kind of WhatsApp message, maybe for further distraction or entertainment or something else. Or all of a sudden, I really need to submit that basket that I've saved on Amazon and place that order. So even though on that day I was running, I did the miles that I'd set out to do, I wasn't actually a runner. I wasn't engaged with the act that I really claimed to love. So let's think about this in terms of your training. Where is your attention when you're running? Are you truly present? Are you feeling each step, each breath, or are you lost in thoughts and worries and external comparisons? The quality of your attention can significantly impact the quality of your training. So how many sessions, truly, have a think about it, how many sessions have you been really able to dial into? Obviously, there's times where we deliberately distract ourselves from training, and it's an intention before we've even set out. And that's probably why so many of us run with AirPods and we're listening to music or podcasts. It's not a crime at all. You know, I do it, everybody does it at time to time. But if in that 5-hour run, you are where you place your attention, are you a runner? Or are you some kind of master mind shifter, or just somebody who really loves music? Have you ever maybe done a back-to-back runs? Back-to-backs are quite common for ultra runners because it's just the easiest way to get some miles done sometimes. But I remember a number of times on the way back, and I'd passed those sections of the trail maybe half an hour to an hour before. Loads of those sections I just can't remember. I don't know where I was at the time. I certainly wasn't engaged with the trail. So there's no right or wrong. I'm just asking you to think about your attention and in turn ask yourself how you're really spending your life. I think it can go the other way too. I remember a few times being really caught up in tracking my pace and distance, and I forgot why I'd started running in the first place. Overall, you know, I was too caught up in that, and maybe individually in a session I've forgotten what my plan was for the route that day. I've been so focused on I need to hit those paces that I've forgotten how I'm getting back to the car. So I definitely, over a longer period, I definitely lost sight of the joy, the freedom and the connection with nature, which are things that I hold really close to me in terms of values when it comes to my running. And it wasn't really until I consciously shifted my attention back to more of my sessions that I really enjoyed moving again. And that's really where you rediscover or discover for the first time your passion for running. So if you're paying attention to things that you don't truly value, you're paying with your life. This isn't just about running, it's about how you spend your time, your energy and your focus in all areas of your life. So like I'd said, watching running videos won't make you a runner. Scrolling LinkedIn won't make you a great manager in a great company. And kind of just gawping at wildlife photos won't allow you to feel the real beauty of nature. You need to engage with the experiences directly and wholeheartedly. So clearly, we can't 100% control our attention, and life would be pretty boring and probably unsafe if it was to be like that. We wouldn't notice things that are unexpected, like unexpected beauty or moments around us, and maybe those rare summer evenings where the sky turns 50 shades of pink and purple, or that unexpected smile from a stranger that really lifts your day. With full control and 100% focus on a single task, we wouldn't notice those things and we wouldn't get the joy that those things bring to us as well. And also, I don't think we'd be able to react in time if there was some bus careering towards us and some kind of potential accident. But I think we need to ask ourselves, how can we make better use of the voluntary portion of our attention? And this isn't about flippant tips or forcing your focus or suggesting that you use these blocking apps to block notifications past a certain point. I think it's more about deeply considering how you choose to spend your time and attention. And here's a few questions to ponder. The first being, what truly matters to you? If you can identify your core values and passions, you can align your attention with those. And that's going to bring fulfillment straight away. Are you present in your activities? Whether you're running, working, or spending time with loved ones, you need to strive to be fully present in those activities. And what are you sacrificing by being distracted is a great question to ask yourself. You need to recognise what the cost of those distractions are and try and make some conscious decisions to either eliminate them, which might be too much, or even just to reduce them, and you'll start to feel a much greater level of satisfaction and fulfilment. I remember seeing a series of photos a few years back and they totally stuck in my mind, and I think it was a photographer called Eric Pickersgill. I don't know if he was the first one to do them or not, it doesn't really matter, but I had a quick look online and he's definitely got a series of photos. So it was a bunch of varied street photos, like real nice street photography. And I think they were black and white, and what he'd done is he'd taken these shots, taken these nice images, and then he'd removed the mobile phones in each of the images, right? So he'd photoshopped them out properly, so it still looked like a genuine image. And the one that I really remember was a family having a barbecue. Obviously in the US, the dad was there. He was on this massive barbecue, there's smoke coming out. And then the mum of the family was also sitting on the driveway, but she was in the back of the pickup truck, just sitting on the edge of the back of the pickup truck. And then the third person in the photo to the left was a young kid. Now the kid was holding, I don't know if it was an axe or a hammer or something, but holding something over their shoulder, and they were staring straight at the camera, the photographer. And then if you think about it, the guy had taken out the phone from the hand of the dad and the phone from the hand of the mum, and you see them sitting there staring at their hands in the middle of these activities. And the only one that was actually aware of what was happening was a kid who was looking at the photographer. So they had no idea what was going on. They're not actually there. They're not present with the kid. And that was probably the intention in the first place, was to have this family barbecue and spend some time together. And nobody other than the kid was wondering what the photographer was doing. So they weren't really spending any quality family time together. Now, how many of us have done that to some extent in our lives? Have a think about what you do when you walk into a cafe to meet a friend, and where you put your phone is a good place to start. Could you be more generous with your attention? Could you be the real family person, the caring, the listening friend, or the colleague who lives by their values no matter how little that might be rewarded by their peers? Attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity. Simone Weil. I think there's likely many of us who, in a different way, are too distracted by our job too. Most of us have to invest our attention in something that offers perhaps maybe way less meaning than some other options that we've had earlier in our lives, or other options that have been open to us. And remembering where we place our attention is what our life is. So I'm not suggesting that everybody goes out tomorrow and gives up your job, but it serves a really important purpose for all of us. We need to work, obviously, we need to earn a living. But if that's where you put your attention and you felt unfulfilled, you're likely to finish your time in life as feeling unfulfilled too. There's a book called, I think it's called 4,000 Weeks. And the title alone, once you know what it means or what it's referring to, is enough to shake your soul, honestly. And the 4,000 weeks refers to the time that we have on this planet. So if everything's going okay and you live an average life expectancy, we've got about 4,000 weeks, right? 4,000 weeks of being alive. It's such a short amount of time. And it's all the time that we have on this planet. And we all cross off many unforgettable and distracted weeks, thinking that they'll run on forever and I'll make the next week a good one, or it's all worth it for the 2 weeks that I've got going on holiday to Turkey. I'm okay to sacrifice the other 50 in the year. So we don't have a huge amount of time. I know we think we do, and we all think we're going to live forever, but it's definitely not the case. And I don't say any of this to sound really negative or doom and gloom or anything. I really don't mean it that way at all. And hopefully, fingers crossed, everybody will have loads of good quality weeks ahead, and it'll feel like another lifetime we've got to live. But by being conscious of where you place your attention, you can really enrich your life and your training in profound ways. So in conclusion, let's make a commitment this week to be a little bit more mindful of where we place our attention. Let's strive to be more present in our runs, in our work, and in our interactions. Remember, attention is life, and you need to spend it wisely. To be everywhere is to be nowhere. Seneca. Thanks for joining me today on the Pyllon Ultra Pod. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe, leave a review, like if you're on YouTube, share it with your friends. I would really appreciate it. Let's continue to explore the real issues in ultra running and support each other on this incredible journey. Until next time, keep running your race your way, and hopefully I'll see you on the trails at some point. And before I go, as always in the last few episodes, I just want to remind you, you could come and hang out with us, hang out with the Pyllon team in Glen Shee at our annual weekend at Pyllon XP7. It's a really great experience. I spent some time on Saturday with somebody who's quite close to the Pyllon team. He's a big part of it, Jeeve, and we kind of met through running. Jeeve had come to one of the early XP events. It was a good reminder for me. It was good to spend some time with him, even though it was in unfortunate circumstances with him racing and stuff. But we had breakfast and we talked about XP, and he had this expectation when he came that it was always going to be about training paces and nutrition and strides and exercises and mobility, and there are elements of that at XP, but he said the big thing for him was it was actually conversations about life and connecting with other people, and the friendships built there have been a huge part of his life, and how he's making the most of his life at the moment, particularly through his running. So it was a good reminder for all of us, I think, that it's more than just any kind of running advice. These are experiences that really make a difference, and giving yourself some time to really focus, like we're talking about, be less distracted. And when you're away for a weekend, you're not thinking so much about all the other things that you normally do. From a work perspective and everything else, you can kind of let go for a weekend and be around people who are also focused on running. So yes, check it out. You can find more information on the website, pyllonultra.com. Have a great week, and I'll speak to you soon. Cheers. Bye. Bye.